Hey everyone, and welcome to another PEG How It's Made video. On this one, we're actually taking a look at a 360 video that we did for Akron-Canton Airport. This was a cool video. The concept was we were kind of doing a tour of the actual airfield while planes were landing and taking off and being moved from runway to runway, things like that. So it was something that you don't typically get to experience. As a person, you can't ever really be out on the airfield unless you work there. So this was kind of a fun concept and a very cool shoot. So let me show you guys the actual final product first, and I'll talk through some of the effects that we got to use. Now keep in mind this is a 360 video, so you are able to actually move your view around. So I'll be doing that throughout the playback. Here we go. So pretty standard logo animation, just like anything else, except it can be moved around, which is interesting. We have a really cool flyover. Logo up top, stats. The stats are all provided by Akron-Canton Airport, which is really cool. You can see as it flies by, the text kind of follows, just trying to keep the viewer looking kind of at the action. Now, there's nothing to stop me from looking away, and I'll show you guys that on this next shot. There's a lot of fun in the next shot to look around and see. So this is a cool one. We actually stuck the rig to a tug, and the tug is moving the plane out. So we actually have our driver here. You can see our mounting device, and you can really look anywhere you want. But you do try to guide the user or the viewer in the 360 space so that they still see the graphics that you intend for them to see, and then they can maybe go back through it and watch whatever they want. So that was the actual finished video, and you can see we have the outro there. Let's take a look at the project itself and how that all came together. So I'm really only going to look at the takeoff scene, which is that final scene we just watched, and I'll kind of talk through my actual process for these. So for each scene, they had their own After Effects compositions, and those all got exported and put into Premiere, where transitions were added and the music was added. So just the takeoff scene itself was kind of worked on individually, then it was all put together afterwards. So to start it off, I used something called the VR comp editor, which is what you use in After Effects if you need to work on 360 footage. And then I always do kind of a very similar workflow. I'll do my color correction first, then I'll paint out anything that needs to be painted, then I'll add the graphics, then I'll export it. So after doing color correction, I loaded it into the VR comp editor. So our very first output is just color corrected. And you can see this actually is the first version of being painted. And I'll show you what I mean by that. If we go into the original color correction comp, we actually have a tripod at the bottom of the screen, and that's what's holding the rig. So my goal was to kind of make that invisible. And how I did that is I took it into VR comp editor, and I went into the edit itself, and I looked down at the ground, and I used the clone brush tool to just paint pieces of grass in where the tripod used to be. So we can actually twirl this down and check the effect paint. If we turn it off, you guys will actually be able to see that the tripod is there. Now I'm going to turn that back on because I don't want the tripod there. And then we'll move on to our next step, which was actually another painting. So we painted out the tripod, and I decided, if we look at this output, I decided that the car in the scene was distracting, and it was very large because it was so close to the camera. So I decided to paint it out, and if we take a look at that edit, you'll see it was just facing where the car was, and again, we just clone stamped everything around it to paint it into looking more like a field. So very simple stuff, but it works really well in the VR editor. You do all your editing in this nice 16:9 space, and then you can open the output, and it makes it look correct for you. And then the final thing that we do, after having everything painted and color corrected how you want, is we'll take it into a 3D edit, and in that 3D edit, we'll place all of our graphics. So let's take a look at that output real quick. So you can see in this output, we have logos at the top and bottom, which are really distorted. They look crazy. And that's because this footage is wrapped around in a 360 circle. So when it gets wrapped around, this effect, this VR comp editor effect, actually makes everything look perfect again. So let's take a look at the edit. So in this one, if you look around, you can actually see our graphics are set in place. This was all done in this one edit. So all three logos and graphics were placed in this one edit, and they all look correct in here. So you can see it's actually it almost is unfortunate that you can't make the logo orient with the camera as the viewer looks around. You have to pick a single orientation. So you can see I chose one of them facing the graphic, and I chose one of them actually facing the start of the scene. So where the plane actually starts, which is down this runway, I had one face that direction. So really just in case you're looking anywhere, if you're looking straight up or you're looking straight down, one of them is going to be correct to you. So we have those two logos just as caps, which are nice looking, and then we have the stat itself. And to show you guys these are very simple. These were just facts thrown into a rectangular comp and animated. So if we go to, let's see, this is our nonstop to your favorite destinations one. Let's actually just do 12 nonstop destinations. And in here, you can see just the text comes up nice and simple in a rectangle. And then all we do is place that composition into our edit. And that's it. It's done. So that's all that was done here. I grabbed one of those rectangles, put it in where I liked it, which was right where the viewer would end the scene. They followed the plane across the runway. It's taking off, and I wanted them to see that last before it goes to the outro. So you just got to plan where they're looking. That's a very big part of 360. But yeah, not a lot of crazy effects. It's actually just it's a really cool workflow, and it's a lot of fun trying to think through how the viewer is going to look at it. And that's all for this episode. So thank you guys for watching, and check out the next one.